Welcome to On the Verge podcast, we're the Truth in Podcast, and we are your Southern Oregon conservative voice, actually your conservative voice of Southern Oregon. Welcome back with us. This will be I think, our fifth live broadcast tonight, and we've got a lot to talk about. We've got some really good, some good stuff here, and some stuff that's not so great. So we'll get to introducing our guests, but first, I always introduce our sponsors, and I want to introduce. Give accolades to our sponsors, Twin Peaks Off Road. That's my company. It's helped sponsor this podcast. Diamond Lake Mini Storage is another company that we is a proud sponsor, a very conservative minded company, and we appreciate their help. And then, of course, Little Mill Media, who puts this on for us. They're the ones, if you could see all the equipment that's looking back at us right now, that's the guys that put this thing on. And like I tell everybody at the start of all my podcasts, if you don't like my podcast, please don't listen. You don't need to. You can go down to Little Mill Media and ask them to start your own podcast, and they would be happy to do it. It's good advertising for them. So, and if you like listening to us, then please stay with us, and we'll have a good time. We may not always say everything you like, but we'll have a good time. So, I'm going to start out real quick with introducing my guests, and I'm super happy to have them on with us tonight. And we are going to be open for questions and answers here pretty soon. But first off, Ed, introduce yourself to us.
Oh, well, first off, Virgil, it's great to be here, and it's an honor to serve with you in the legislature. We try and have fun whenever we can.
And we do.
Yeah, but I represent House District 17, which covers East Salem through the majestic Santiam Canyon. So that whole Highway 22 corridor, when you head east, go up through State and Sublimity, Turnaroundville, up through Detroit Lake and Idana. That is my territory. It's a beautiful part of the state. And I've been serving, I think I started with you. We were both elected in 22 and did our first session in 23. And so just real quick, my background is in business like yours. I'm an engineer by degree, and I started a business and with a couple other guys. My wife worked there with me. We built that business up, and I sold it in 2018, and thought I would relax and enjoy things. Got involved in a lot of nonprofit work, and then I had a momentary lapse of reason that took this crazy job. But I love my state, as you do. I don't like the direction it's going. I want to take it back, and that's why I'm doing this. So my wife's in it all in with me. She's my chief of staff.
Yeah.
And so we work very closely together, and
So thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
It's awesome to have you, Ed. You're a legend in the real deal, right? You're a legend in the house. It's great to serve with you, and there's a few other reps that we're very much conservative minded, and people know it. So they come to us when they need conservative opinions on things, and it's always nice. And I also need to mention too, I have you can't see her, she's just off screen here, but she's my chief of staff. Jen Jasper is handling our questions tonight, because I know there's going to be probably way more than I can handle. But anyway, thanks for joining us, and I'm going to introduce I'll let him introduce himself to my right here. Go ahead.
Well, I'm Trent Drake. As always, I'm the executive chair of the Douglas County Central Committee, and I'm also Virgil's campaign manager, and I've been involved with his campaign from the beginning.
All the way back to that beer and pizza night when you said, "Hey, let's see if we can get you elected into something."
Yeah, that did beer and pizza, the magical fruit.
That's how it always starts.
Yeah.
So, I want to talk tonight about what we've just been up to. First, let me say something real quick about the podcast. I just got the analytics back yesterday, which I hadn't paid attention to very well, and we have upped our screen views, not just on the podcast but on my site, from 263,000 to 303,000 views in the last 28 days. So the podcast is doing well, and people are listening, and I just want to thank everybody out there for joining us. This is really good stuff. So with that said,
can I add to that, Virgil?
Yeah.
Because what you're doing and what I'm trying to do, people are starving to connect and understand what goes on in that building.
Mhm.
And I just don't feel we've done a very good job of that. And so part of what I've tried to do is make sure I'm connecting with people. And that's, that's through social media. It's through lots of town halls. It's through constituent emails, and they really appreciate it. They really appreciate it.
Yeah, I mean,
And so I think what you're doing is awesome. And I think it's testament that the views that you're getting is testament people are starving for this. They really need it and want it.
yeah, absolutely. And
Yeah.
my intention when I started this was to become very transparent in the position and
Yeah.
your building, just as you are, but also to educate people on how politics actually works. I mean, I can't
Yeah.
tell you the number of messages that I've read and have received just since yesterday, since we were on the House floor, um, about just the session, and people don't understand exactly, okay, what happened, why did it happen, and how do we get out of it, um,
Yeah.
part of our job, I feel, and Ed, I think you feel the same way, a part of our job is to educate the public as to what it is that we do for them. uh,
Yeah.
that way they can either choose to support us or not support us. And I think we're both fortunate in our districts that we have much more support than we do non-support, and I think thanks to our governor we just gained a little bit more, which is kind of good.
And one thing that's really clear, especially when you get in the building, is you realize what you read in the press is really not a good representation necessarily of what's going on. And it's a representation of that journalist's opinion or perspective,
Yeah.
I should say, on what's going on. So, and there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes, and I try and tell as much as I can uh, on that stuff, so people know, people understand when they see I'm on the floor, I'm not on the floor. Why? What's going on?
Yeah, and I caught some flack today for not being on the floor, and
No, it's a no win. You show up, you get you don't.
yeah.
Right.
Well, and I explained to the person, we were the leadership asked us to not to show up. I mean, it's just short of doing a walkout, but I know that we needed to, provide quorum, and then you get the question of, well, why would you provide quorum? Well, special session's a whole different animal. I mean, you can lose your seat, and for what, right? I mean, this whole walkout thing ended when Measure 113 passed. I mean, we are not at least in the House. It would not behoove us for 24 of us to walk out the door, uh, because 24 of us won't come back. It doesn't matter who they reelect; it won't be 24 conservative representatives. So yeah, that's my fear.
It's really tough, and so I ask folks on this session, the emergency session. I call it an emergency session because that's what the Constitution calls it.
Yeah.
There's no special session; it's their emergencies, and that's it. Especially striking that our governor called us in as an emergency to pass taxes on Labor Day. We passed taxes on the workers on the day celebrating workers. Yeah. And
While she was in Astoria enjoying her time with her wife, and
yeah.
while while we while we sit glued to the television, wondering what's going to happen next.
Right.
Yeah.
But I had most people ask me, say, show up and speak for us.
Yeah.
And I had a few people say, deny quorum, don't show up. I said, well, I can't deny quorum. And looked at the numbers. There were enough people, enough Republicans that were adamant about being there. And I understand their perspective. We weren't going to deny quorum. So I'm going to be there. I'm going to speak for my constituents. I'm going to vote no. And that's all.
And I have to tell you, of course, I was asked to stay out, so I did not come in,
Right,
although I was in town. But I have to tell you, of all the speeches that were given, and this is nothing new. I mean, your upside down speech was the one that was one of my favorite ones. But last night you gave a speech, a short speech about the bill. You did a fantastic job, and one thing I wanted to add to it was, and you kind of almost touched on it, but I really believe that this bill was not so. It was a policy change. It had a lot to do with the fact they don't want you to drive a car. Ultimately what they want is to get you out of your car, out of your pickup, and they want to put you on a mass transit bus somewhere. Or as
Yeah.
with Gamba speaking, he wants you to ride your bicycle to wherever the hell it is he wants you to ride to. And so tell us about your speech last night. I wish I could read it for everybody.
Well, before I get into that, you're right. They call it, there's a fancy term. I think they call it modal shift,
Yeah.
mode shifting. And what that is, there's a lot of people that they don't want more asphalt. They don't want more cars and trucks moving smoothly through Portland. They want us to be on buses and light rail and bicycles. And where I live and you live, that's completely impractical. It ain't going to happen. And I want trucks to pass through Portland fast and safely and get from point A to point B efficiently. And unfortunately, that's tough. But there was a lot of stuff to talk about. I focused on priorities, and really, what we see in this bill is a complete lack of priorities that represent what Oregonians want. And the governor gave us a false choice. She said, you have to raise taxes or we have to do all these layoffs. And that's simply not true. What she didn't put on the table are a lot of things that people just wouldn't vote for. They wouldn't vote for restorative justice consultants.
Right.
A lot of people I don't think know that we spent $600 and some an hour to hire a restorative justice consultant to try and talk people in to the Rose Quarter project, which has gone from a $450 million project to a $2 billion project. We have a lot of climate justice money that's being spent, not just for the department, but it gets into every project. What's the return for Oregonians on that? What's the return for electric buses? Then we get into the whole DEI thing, and there's tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars that department is spending that don't align with what Oregonians want. Now, if she would have brought that to the table and called us into an emergency session and had us vote for those things, climate justice, restorative justice, bloated I-5 bridge and bloated Rose Quarter project, we would have been laughed out of the building, right?
Oh, yeah.
Well, so she made a false choice. She made a false choice. And the thing that gets me the most is you saw that stack of paperwork, Virgil.
94%.
94% of the people that testified, thousands of people, testified in opposition.
Yep.
And they really feel like their voices were not heard. And I've been thinking this whole time with this whole transportation package about an essay that was given, oh gosh, back in the late 1800s called The Forgotten Man. And so I incorporated that into my speech.
Mm-hmm.
And The Forgotten Oregonian. It's where A and B decide A and B decide what's good for D, and C pays for it. And the Forgotten Oregonians are C. They're the ones paying the bill. And it's a travesty. It really is a travesty.
I got to tell you, after your speech and I listened to it, I was like, hell, I would vote no on this if I had planned on voting yes. What amazed me was, and I just can't believe that there were 35 Democrats that felt strongly enough about holding on to their seats, because that's what this is all about.
Yeah.
That they would vote with the governor, because I know at least 5 or 6 or maybe 7 of them didn't want this bill, and only one of them had the guts to stand up and say, I'm a no, and that was, of course, Vanessa Hartman. And what a fantastic thing she did. Now, we'll get into later why we undid what she did, but yeah, I just don't get it. I don't understand.
I don't get it either. And I know there's Democrats that agree that it was a false choice.
Yeah.
They came up and talked to me after my speech.
Yeah.
It was a false choice.
But yet they did it anyway.
They did it anyway. And it's very frustrating. It's very frustrating. And, and another thing, I mentioned it to you before we started here. Another thing is you got to look back. We're new legislators, but on something like this, you got to, there was a massive transportation package that passed in 2017. What were they talking about then? What were the issues then? And you know what? Accountability was a big issue. ODOT efficiency was a big issue.
Yep.
And you go back and you listen to what they were saying, how the House Bill 2017 was going to fix things. We heard the same stuff on the floor.
Yep.
Well, what happened in 2017? We didn't fix it then. Why do we think we're going to fix it now? Why am I putting more money in now, expecting the accountability to come later? That's exactly what we did in 2017.
Well, in this one, we made some concessions, which is, this is another thing I've explained today why we gave quorum. Another reason why we gave more than 4, but there were some concessions made by the Democrats, and one of those was to sunset the payroll tax, which was a 2-year sunset. Now, of course, I don't trust the Democrats won't come back and undo that.
There is no way that thing's gonna sunset without radical change in the makeup of the legislature.
Yeah, of course.
That. Yeah.
I wasn't a big fan of it either, but that happened. I wasn't involved in that negotiation, but it did happen. And those are some of the things. There's no incentive for the Democrats to sunset that tax. In fact, the representative, or the Senator Pham, was extremely upset that was put in as an amendment, and to the point where she didn't like the bill anymore because we're actually giving people a chance to get out of paying taxes. It's like, what is wrong with these people? I mean, I get it. I understand where they're at. The more money the state can take from the people and give back to the ones they choose to give back to, in other words, socialism, the better off in their minds they'll be. And it's saddening to me. But
It is, and it's everybody is paying for. We need mass transit. I understand it.
sure,
When you're facing a situation like we have, where the entire state is paying out of their payroll tax an amount that goes to transit, and you look at the performance of TriMet, who's getting the bulk of this stuff. TriMet's ridership's going down 30%. People don't feel like it's safe to ride, and yet we're having to subsidize. We subsidize, I think, what is it, $8 a mile or some crazy thing like that.
Yeah.
That we're subsidizing riders, and I just don't. I don't think that should fall on everybody in the state, frankly.
of course not. And we should be charging, definitely. I would think we should be charging for the rides.
We should be charging more.
Yeah.
I'm okay with subsidizing some of them because the folks that use that are lower income. I've talked to some folks in my district that wish there was more frequent ridership.
Yeah.
But I also see a lot of that money's being wasted. I mean, why are we buying electric buses, for crying out loud?
Oh,
It's outrageously expensive. You need, 2 buses to do the job of one diesel.
Yeah.
And it's way more money. Yeah.
Well, it plays into their climate legislation, but I want to jump to the comments real quick. Somebody made a comment that Senator Pham is a commie. I'm not gonna disagree with that, but we'll let that go. Another question here is: any chance Senator Meek votes no tomorrow or whenever they vote? And the answer to that is you should be emailing Senator Meek right now. As soon as this show's over, get on your email.
I encourage people of the senators that are likely, he's the one. He stood strong on House Bill 2025
He did.
and pushed back under a lot of pressure. But I would guess that he's going to be a yes on this, in part because it took the tolling language. A lot of the tolling language was taken out of legislation. That's an important issue for him and his constituents.
Yeah, that's probably true. Also, there's a comment on here: what can be done about Javity? So, I mean, we'll get into a little more of who Javity is, but the fact of the matter is, and I want everybody on this call, if there's nothing else you remember this: elections have consequences, right? And not only is the governor part of our consequence, but so is Representative Javity in this case. And for that matter, the Democrat Party. It's time for a change. There's no question. We have had 38 plus years of horrible decisions made at a leadership level, and it's time to put somebody in office that actually gives a damn about the people that they represent.
Yeah.
And until we get to that point, I just don't know.
I want to thank one of our sponsors of this show, Diamond Lake Mini Storage. If you need a little extra space, I will always recommend Diamond Lake Mini Storage. They have 45 brand new units ranging from 50 to 250 square feet with a safe and secure and clean facility. But they're more than just a storage business. They proudly support our local community through 4-H, UAC, Meals on Wheels, and other great programs that make Roseburg stronger. Ask about their move-in specials and visit them on roseburgforrent.com. That's roseburgforrent.com, storage with heart right here at home.
Is your 4x4 ready for the trail? Twin Peaks Off-Road is your first stop for maintenance, repairs, and custom upgrades. From differential services to winch installs, we do it all. Fast, reliable, and built for adventure. Don't wait for breakdowns in the backcountry. Call Twin Peaks Off-Road today at 541-900-0015 or visit twinpeaksoffroad.net. Keep your 4x4 off the roads and in the adventure.
Let's see. We also have something else here. This is from Tracy. They obviously don't care what Oregonians think of their or their honest fears and anger. They don't care. I agree. So one of the things today, I was kind of sitting there thinking about how all this went down. I'm like, well, the argument on the floor for the Democrats was, well, you're not going to notice 3 cents a gallon when you actually talk about how much dollars you spend at the pump. You know, they're not wrong. When you add 3 cents per gallon over the course of like a 40-gallon month, you're a couple $3-4.
Six cents a gallon, right?
Or I'm sorry, yeah, 6 cents a gallon. Yeah, it's not a huge amount, and you probably won't notice it. Also, on your payroll tax, you're probably not going to notice a few dollars a month. It's probably not going to be like a big deal. But then I got to thinking in depth. It's kind of like compounded interest on a savings account. The fact of the matter is all of those costs over the course of, and it all goes back to the people that are delivering products. It goes back to, everybody's going to raise their prices on goods because of this small, what they call small increase. And then plus the fees to register your vehicle, for crying out loud. We don't need to follow California, but boy, we're catching up quick. It's just ridiculous. But yeah.
But you're right. A gas tax is a regressive tax because it hits the lowest income people the hardest because a larger percentage of their expenses go to transportation. And it is a compounding issue too, like you said, where everybody has to uses transportation in their business. So every business in that line, same with the payroll transit tax. So it's going to have a compounding effect on things that you buy.
Yeah.
The House Republican office did a estimate and they said about $330 per household. And I've had some people chime in on my social media. Say, what's the big deal? You know what? That is a big deal.
Yeah.
To some families, it is a big deal. They have seen over the years now, in the last few years, inflation gone up, but their buying power has stagnated because their salaries have not gone up.
No.
Everybody is feeling the pinch. Everybody's counting pennies. And the arrogance to say, well, it doesn't matter. It's not a big deal. It's a big deal. And it's a big deal to the forgotten Oregonians that I talk about. And that's why I'm there. I think that's why you're there too, Virgil.
That's exactly why. And I'll be honest with you, even if it wasn't a big deal financially, it's a big deal that 94% of the people that sent in their testimony got ignored. That's a huge deal. Yeah, I mean, so it was a tax bill. What about if look at the gun bills. Look at all the other stuff that the majority party has absolutely paid no attention to.
And the accountability piece and the priorities. You say, well, what about this climate justice stuff? Oh, there's not enough there to fill the gap. Well, do it anyway. Do it because people put that at a lower priority. People put DEI salaries at a lower priority. People put, we're budgeting flower beds on top of the rose quarter.
I saw that. I saw that in a post. I'm like, are you kidding me?
That was my post.
Well, 29.
How can we prioritize that over road maintenance? Electric buses were prioritized over snowplows. That's what we're facing with this. And it rightly should outrage people. And it just, that's what frustrates folks.
Well, and frankly, Ed, I don't give a damn about the what the governor did was she started down the list of all the rural counties, and she hit us first with penalties, which layoffs. Even got into the speaker's county in Lane County. They were going to shut down one of the ODOT maintenance sheds out there in Veneta, I think it was. But yeah, and Canyonville down here was going to get shut down. I mean, how about we just cut off Multnomah County? They don't need snowplows in downtown Portland because, it doesn't ever snow there. I mean, but so this is, again, when I go back, elections have consequences. This is what a bully party does. And this is what they've been doing for a long, long time. I don't want to ignore Trent too long here. I know he's got something to say. So
Yeah.
so Trent, you're not in the House, right? So I mean, obviously you're representing the people locally here, Republican Party. What are you hearing out there?
Well, I think you guys have both hit a really good point. First of all, economics is trickle down. No matter how much the left says they don't like trickle down, they're creating the worst case scenario for trickle down, especially where we live here in Southern Oregon. It's going to land the hardest here.
Yeah.
It's not going to affect the metro areas near to the degree that it will affect us. And you guys are right on the money of what's going on. And people need to be concerned. I mean, you look at, it's not just Southern Oregon, it's Eastern Oregon, it's the Ontarios of the world, the Nissa, Lakeview, Klamath County. This goes into effect, and it really creates an economic disaster of something we've never seen in our lifetime. And I was born and raised here. I grew up in the, late 70s when the timber industry collapsed and the gas prices went off the chart. I'd pray for $1.40 gas again, So it to me, people need to really wake up and understand, you think it's painful now, give it just a minute and it's really going to hurt.
And I mean, what kind of a government puts into place something that's opposed by 94% of the populace? That's a
dictatorship.
government.
There's a word for that. It's called communists.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's what.
And that's what we're facing. Nobody has come to me and said, well, actually, the majority of Oregonians want this. No, they know it's not popular. They're doing it because they think it's for your own good.
Yeah.
You're excellent children, as Representative Gamba said. You're an excellent child if you don't support massive tax increases. And how dare you demand efficiency and accountability for the dollars you're already spending? We'll deal with that later.
Representative Gamba, and I hope he's not watching this, but actually I really don't care. It's hard for me to have a civil conversation with somebody who is so far off the cliff about climate change legislation. That is really his grind. That's what he wants to do, is make sure that
His gig.
Yeah, it's his gig. And it's like, okay, I get it. I'm not a climate change believer, but whatever, we have to protect the environment. That should not be at the expense of the people in the state. I mean, what are we doing? I mean, really, what are we doing here? And the funny thing, it's not funny, but the ironic thing about it is the people that get hurt the worst with his legislation are the people that he claims to represent. Those low income folks who can't, he and I went, head to head over and I think you were on that committee, Ed, with the charging stations and all of the apartment complexes that he wanted to put in. I'm like, low income apartment complexes. And I said, so explain to me how a low income family that can't afford to pay their rent is going to drive a Tesla. And he's like, well, that's not true. They drive Chevy Volts. And so he sends me an email of a picture of a Chevy Volt that was like 8 years old or 10 years old. And it was like $8,500. Okay. That's still $8,500 and the battery's probably no good.
People they don't want to drive those cars. Maybe someday. But that's why it takes all these massive subsidies.
Yeah.
I look for what's the return on that for Oregonians for these massive investments. it
more power to the government. That's the return.
you can't even measure it.
No.
And I with Rep Gamba, I look for common ground with everybody, and I found common ground on some, I think a couple bills with Representative Gamba. But on some of this stuff, it's more, it really feels ideological and not driven by the facts surrounding what's the return. We can spend billions of dollars on wind and solar. We're not gonna impact the temperature of the earth one iota. We're not gonna stop any wildfires.
No.
We are gonna eat up a lot of beautiful real estate.
Yeah, which should be, that's a little hypocritical on their part.
And frankly, we're not gonna reach our energy requirements on wind and solar alone. So yeah, this and unfortunately what's happened to ODOT is they've been directed by the legislature to spend money on these things as well and incorporate climate justice in all their projects and their decision making. And I feel for the ODOT folks. I've talked to a lot of them. They don't like this bill either.
Well, I have too, and evidently the ones I've been
As frustrated as we are.
the ones I've been speaking to evidently are not the same ones that Representative Javity's been speaking to, because I think his ODOT people were for it, but my ODOT people are every to a T. I haven't had one ODOT person say, "Hey, this is a good idea." I want to answer a quick question. So,
Yeah.
I have a question online that says, "When this passes, are we going to have as voters a chance to appeal this or repeal it?" The answer is yes. There is a pathway for that. It's a tax vote, so there can be it will be a referendum, which would require signatures to put on a ballot, just like any other thing would. And I don't know what that number is, but I think it would probably be a percentage of the voters, probably 300,000, something like that. Ed,
Well, I believe I was looking at it today. I believe the number is under 100,000. I think it's more like 75,000.
Oh, okay. Well,
So when you, I may be wrong on that. If somebody has a better number,
yeah,
give it to me. But the way this works is with a tax vote, it cannot, even though we're in an emergency session, a tax bill can't be declared an emergency, which means it's open to a repeal. And repeals have a much lower signature threshold than a regular initiative petition. We got a very tight window to get signatures, but hey, it's going to happen.
I gotta believe.
An opportunity in November 2026 to repeal this damn thing.
I gotta believe that the voters, if let's say we need 75,000, we'll have, because I really believe our governor, who I think is true on communist, is going to wait till the 30th day to sign this bill, because the referendum can't start until after the bill's signed, and then we'll have 60 days to get those however many 75,000 signatures, whatever it is. I have to believe in my heart that won't be a problem. I would hope we could get that many signatures in a week, but
I think we're going to see a grassroots turnout like nobody's business.
Yeah.
And I want people to understand that. So people go, well, why aren't we doing this? Why aren't we doing that? This stuff takes money. And some of these issues, guys, you don't have lobbyists in there fighting for you.
Mm-mm. Nope.
Some of these issues, the big lobby groups are going to stand by. They're not going to engage.
Right.
It takes grassroots effort to move the needle on some of these. This is one of them. You're not going to see any big lobby group come out and fork out $1 million to fight this thing.
Right.
The governor did her best to buy off all the special interest groups in this bill.
Well, I was going to touch on SEIU. I think one of ODOT's biggest liabilities is the fact that the unions have pushed up wages and costs and regulations on projects, and to the point where that is why ODOT's budget is out of control, because hell, you got to jump through hoops just to go to work. I mean, and then you've got the whole DEI thing, and of course the governor's who she did not recall her executive order on the PLAs, And that just kills, rural counties. We can't do a PLA agreement on a project down here. We don't have the DEI, what do you call
We
it?
don't have the local contractors that can fulfill that. So, and that adds money to every project. So to come claim that they need the money because this, that, and the other thing, well, get rid of the project labor agreements.
Yeah.
That would save money on every single project. But no, they won't.
No, she's pushing up her own agenda. So I see a comment on here that I haven't seen or heard of yet. It says, if I'm correct, I just saw a letter that moved the vote to September 17th. I'm assuming that would be the Senate vote, and that's possible. That's 2 weeks out.
That's wild. And what's going on there is Senator Gorsuch is out for medical reasons, has been reported. So I knew the vote wasn't going to be tomorrow. Well, I learned that earlier today, but September 17th is really pushing it out.
Yeah, that is. And for those who don't understand,
What that means is Oregonians have a chance to put a pressure campaign on some senators here. Keep it up.
yeah,
They need to hear how this impacts you personally.
I see Representative Yunker had posted it on his page, so I don't know where he got the information yet. I've
Okay.
been tied up, but if that is the case, this is another one of those learning experiences for people that don't understand how government works. We are officially in session right now, so session will continue until the Senate sine dies, and they can't sine die without voting on this, or it has to start over again. So we have sine died in the House, but I don't believe that ends session until Senate sine dies. So I think we're all going to still. I hope that we don't have to go back, and I don't think that the House will. But it's amazing what the majority party will do.
Yeah. So the deal is they don't have the votes without every single Democrat being there.
Yep.
So in the Senate, it's going to pass purely on partisan lines.
Yeah.
And to hit that supermajority 3/5, they need every Democrat there.
Yeah.
And if Gorsuch, or if there's one other one that can't make it, it's pass.
Yeah, and the governor looks like ass, frankly.
Yeah.
So speaking of that, let's talk a little bit about that. I've had some questions as to how we got to 36. So and why
Glass of wine here.
and pour another glass of wine, Ed. So I've had tons of people ask me about Representative Javity, and I am not the Republican guy that's going to sit here and badmouth another Republican, but I will badmouth a Democrat. And I'm not entirely sure that we have a Republican that did that vote at this point. I think he made a horrible, horrible mistake. He did vote with the Democrats. I listened to his interview on Lars Larson today, and he didn't really have a good answer as to why he voted yes on the bill, but he does claim to be a Republican. And when I went back and saw some of his campaign footage, he specifically campaigned on not raising taxes for everybody, and yet he was the determining factor in the vote at the House.
He was the deciding vote. And, I work closely with Cyrus Rep Javity. I serve on healthcare and behavioral health. I've served 3 terms with him now.
Yeah.
And, or three sessions. And he's a really sharp guy. And, but he couldn't be more wrong on this vote. I really think he got it wrong. And he did struggle to answer the questions. And I think he felt that this was the best we were going to be able to get. But I really feel he fell into the false choice trap that the governor laid out. If we don't do this, we have to lay off all these maintenance workers. Don't fall for that. I'm not going to be taken hostage. Taxpayers. She held taxpayers and maintenance workers hostage with this.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Because that was a completely false choice.
So I was trying to stay on the good side of this and not be that guy that talks bad about Javity. But then bam, yesterday or maybe the day before, I get this press release talking about how Javity and I don't remember who the Democrat was. It might have been Tom Anderson. Come together to sponsor a bill that makes it against the law for our police to ICE and police agents or whatever to wear a mask. Are you freaking kidding me? Republican is sponsoring a bill like that. I'm like, how can I defend him as a Republican when he continues to do stupid shit?
That on the transportation bill,
Yeah.
he committed, like you said before on those videos, he committed not only to no new taxes, but cutting taxes.
Yes.
And it does sure look like he's not living up to those commitments he made to the people that voted for him and cut checks for him and supported him. So he's got an answer for that.
Yeah.
Well, plus, it sure looks like the majority of his constituents oppose this bill. So he went against his own constituents.
Yeah.
That he's got an answer for that.
Well, I think the answer is going to be the same answer that Charlie Conrad got in 23 when he voted for the abortion bill. That's why I think the answer is going to be.
I've kind of called this, and I think Yunker posted on it too. This might be Javity's Charlie Conrad moment. Yeah, and I got I served with Charlie on healthcare as well.
Must be the healthcare committee. You're not going to go rogue on more,
Maybe it's me. You made a terrible vote. You made a terrible vote, and his constituents held him accountable, and that's what should happen. So, Rep. Javity, Cyrus, he's got to explain this to his constituents, and if they support him, keep him in there. But if you don't, you have an opportunity. And yeah, I had a lot of conversations with Cyrus, Virgil. I talked to him a lot about this bill and this vote, and I dug into it. Neither of us serve on transportation. I dug into it too to understand what the issues were, and I came away. And maybe it's because I kind of dug into what transpired in 2017.
Yeah.
All the promises and the promises not delivered. And I came away thinking, if we vote for this, this is like Charlie Brown lining up for the football with Lucy again, and she's going to pull it. I need to see accountability first. You show me you got your priorities straight, then I will vote for this. Can I lay out the one example from 2017? I don't know if you met here, but in 2017, part of the accountability package was to have the ODOT director hired by the commission, the Transportation Commission, to pull it away from the governor. In 2025, part of the accountability package is to have the governor hire the ODOT director. I'm not kidding you. We just flip-flop, and we're claiming on both sides that it's an accountability issue. In 2017, we said we're going to increment the taxes, the gas tax up every couple years, a couple cents. And we're going to hold ODOT accountable. We're going to have this new council that's going to hold them accountable. Well, apparently accountability is just issuing a report, because that's all we got. Rose Quarter project never happened, and now it's over $2 billion. You got this I-5 bridge with just billions of dollars of things that most Oregonians would say is complete waste and unnecessary. So all of that's going on. How can you arrive? Okay, we'll raise taxes one more time. They'll be accountable this time.
Yeah, never.
No.
That's not going to happen. And on accountability things too, I mean, the details, right? I mean, again, supermajority, Democrats are pushing the envelope. They're running the show. It's their job to govern. And here we have the I-5 bridge that could just be a bridge. That could just be a very easily built working bridge. But no, we have to add a bike lane, a pedestrian lane. We have to add electric train lane that doesn't even exist.
On a second deck.
Yeah, on a second deck.
Which means the height is 60 foot lower than the Coast Guard says we need. So certain ships can't even get to their port.
Yeah. So I think the price tag now is $9 billion.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
probably gone up since that
It's-
was in 23.
It
So-
is. It's absurd. And you know what? I was reading about Vancouver, BC. You know, we're not the only one with a bridge that's subject to a Cascadia earthquake.
Right.
So Vancouver, BC, as far as when it comes to bridges, they put us to shame. They have bridges all over the place.
Right.
They're not budgeting brand new bridges everywhere.
No, they're upgrading the ones they have.
They're upgrading the ones they have. So what we have is this, I can't remember the term, but it's a subversion zone. So what they're worried about is when things start shaking,
Yeah.
those pillars are on mush and they're just going to sink in. There are ways to reinforce those pillars for a fraction of the cost of a new bridge to make that bridge survive a Cascadia event. That's what Vancouver, BC is doing.
Yeah.
But we're not.
But that wouldn't give them a mass transit electric train and
Mass-
bike lane.
Yeah. And you know how when that train arrives to Vancouver, Washington, you're going to have to walk, I don't know how far down.
Right.
It's ridiculous. I guess it'll be this spiraling staircase that I don't think Vancouver doesn't even want the thing. No, I don't think
No, Vancouver's not. Washington's not even.
it's
They're not even playing.
that's a climate vanity project if you ever saw one. Yeah, I'm not interested in paying for it. And that's where I'm at with my vote.
Well, and we'll be dealing with that I'm sure for the remainder of our time in the House. But let's see. So I have a question here. Did they really double payroll taxes for small businesses in Douglas County? They doubled payroll taxes for the entire state.
The payroll transit tax.
Payroll transit tax, yeah, 100% increase from 0.1 to 0.2%. Assuming this gets through the Senate, yes. So again, you won't notice a big amount on your check, but it still is a fairly big increase, and it's just wrong,
Well, at the same time this is going on, back before our time, Virgil, the legislature passed a law that gave the Salem Transit Authority, Chariots.
Yeah.
It gave them the authority to pass a payroll transit tax for the city of Salem without voter approval.
Yep.
I couldn't believe it. And so that is taking effect in 2026. And so Chariots has announced they're going to implement a payroll transit tax that will bring, I think that it's several times more than the one we're talking about in this House bill. So Salem residents are going to get hammered. I think right now we're going from a 0.1% transit tax to 0.2% of payroll.
Right.
For Salem businesses, it'll be either 0.9% or a full 1% of your payroll will go to transit.
That's a big deal.
Tiny fraction of your employees even use. It's a huge deal.
Well, and you know, that brings up another thing. When you talk about transit, the amount of people that actually use the transit in Metro Portland, right? The Metro Transit. For one thing, it's not safe. You can't get on it without the fear of being mugged or getting stuck with a needle or walking around human poop on the floor or whatever it is. But nobody uses that transit system, yet we pay for it in rural Oregon. All of our, the taxes go, of course, they go by population. So that money that they're taking out of our checks is going right up to a transit system that nobody uses. We're not benefiting from it here in Douglas County, which we have a transit issue here. Our transit district has now had to cut back on services because we're broke, and getting broker. So it's something has got to change. But you've talked about this in the past, the doom loop. I think you even did a little article.
Yeah.
I believe the doom loop is a really good way to put it.
We are in a doom loop. Look at Portland. I mean, we have one of the highest tax rates in the nation for the Portland metro area.
Yeah.
What happens then? Businesses pick up and leave.
Yep.
We had testimony against this transportation bill from some Portland businesses. I can think of one lady in particular testified. 20 businesses in her area have left. There's more planning on leaving. So now you have fewer people, income earners, paying the bills. And so there's more demand for more taxes. So they raise taxes and then more of those leave. It is a doom loop. And the problem is it doesn't, it can take a few years to get into the ditch like that. It can take a long time to get out of it, a long time. But that's where Oregon is headed unless we change direction and take back our state. That's why you and I are part of the Oregon Freedom Coalition. I want my state back.
Absolutely, and by all means, talk a little bit about Oregon Freedom Coalition, because we can't say enough good things about Oregon Freedom Coalition. But you are the leader of that coalition, and what's it all about?
Well, and you had Nick Stark on, which is great. He's the president of Oregon Freedom Coalition. So basically, Oregon Freedom Coalition is a 501c4, and we have a 501c3 arm. But we are dedicated to propagating and promoting conservative values and principles across the state, and to get voters, conservative-minded voters, out and voting with the sole goal of taking our state back. And like I mentioned before, we have a lot of special interest groups in this state, but none of them are really focused day in, day out on promoting conservative values and standing for those, even when others don't. And that's what the Freedom Coalition is all about. And so we view this as a grassroots based organization that's going to be supported and funded by tens of thousands of regular Oregonians that have just had it with the direction of the state. And, I'm excited about it. I think it's needed in Oregon. We don't have any other organization really like it. And what I love is we have our legislative council, which is of like-minded conservatives like you and me, that are advising the Freedom Coalition on direction and good policy. And we already had a big win. We pushed back with notaxor.com. That was a Freedom Coalition initiative, fully funded and directed by the Freedom Coalition. But notaxor.com, in just a span of a few days, had thousands of voters reach out to the legislatures, and we killed House Bill 2025 in the regular session.
Yep.
And
that was huge. That was a huge win.
That was huge. And so I want to continue that momentum. And so we need people to support it, OregonFreedom.com, and fight with us to take back our state, because it's worth fighting for.
Yeah, we will always support OregonFreedom.com. Well, Oregon Freedom Coalition here on this podcast. In fact, I'm going to get Nick back on here. We'll probably put a logo at some point on, just so, and we'll put them into the advertisement, because I think it's a very important, and we are a very conservative podcast, and we'll stay that way. And it hit me the other day, and I was going to mention this to you. You know, rural Oregon, we have such a homeless issue, and I know I'm going a little off topic, but we have such a homeless issue down here. And what I've noticed is that a lot of the people, I grew up in Roseburg, so I've been here my whole life. So is Trent. The people that I see that are homeless are not from here. And I found myself asking the question, why are they here? Right? Why would a homeless person or a homeless, usually, actually anymore, a lot of it's couples. It's usually a man and a woman or whatever. And so I got to thinking about this, and I had some conversations with one of our local pastors here, actually, about some other stuff. And it occurred to me, they don't want to be homeless in Portland because it's not safe to be homeless in Portland. They rob each other. They literally, the crime on crime, homeless on homeless crime in Portland is horrible. They don't rob their car. They steal their tent. They steal their drugs. They steal their shoes, whatever they need to do. And so the homeless population is moving into rural Oregon. I believe they're doing it because it's safer to live here.
Right. I think you're right. And they can, because we have, I forget the House bill number, but we make it very difficult for for cities to enforce vagrancy laws and homeless encampment restrictions and all that jazz. Oregon's a destination.
Yeah.
I had folks who do outreach in Portland tell me every week there's buses coming in with homeless people who've been given a bus ticket to Portland.
Yeah. Well, believe me, it comes here too. We
Yeah.
we stop downtown. I've seen it.
I was watching the news the other day and I clipped this video and posted it. But it's classic. This lady who's living on the street was interviewed about she's blocking a parking space that somebody's paying for, and that business owner was upset. He pays for these parking spaces every year. He's not able to use them. And she says, well, you got to understand, as homeless people, us people here, we like to do drugs and hang out. And what's your big deal about a parking space? That's the attitude. We are spending hundreds of millions of dollars enabling antisocial behavior.
Yeah.
Not just in Portland, but across the state, and it's spreading. And it's just unacceptable. It's unacceptable. When I ran, I told people, I want to help people who need help and are willing to get help. But you can't live in my kid's park.
Right.
You can't live on the sidewalk. So you can either leave or go get treatment or go to jail, but you can't live here.
Yeah.
And I truly think that's the compassionate thing to do. That's not being mean. This is an example I used when I was first running, Virgil. If that was your mom on the street, would you just leave her as, well, that's her choice? No.
Oh, hell no.
I'd pick her up, kicking and screaming,
Yeah.
and put her into a place where she can get help.
Yep.
And you can't necessarily even do that in Oregon, but that's what I want to do. And that's what I think we need to do.
Well, I do too. And I that looks maybe a little different in every city, but I know locally here we have the city of Sutherland. They adopted a policy of, just like you said, you can live here. You can't live in the park and you're not going to live on the sidewalk, but we will give you a ride to they establish a homeless camp. And within that camp, there was, a ladder on how to get to the point where you could possibly, work your way out. I haven't followed it in the last year, so I don't know where they're at with that right now, but that is the compassionate thing to do. But we also need to enforce the law. I mean, if you're doing drugs on the damn sidewalk, you go to jail, and then you get a choice, right? You can go to rehab or you can stay in jail, but you're going to get clean one way or the other. That's just how it should be.
That's the compassionate thing to do. I've talked to too many people who have gone through that, and it was frustrating. It was difficult.
Mm-hmm.
But guess what? They're clean.
Yeah.
And they have jobs.
Yeah. And there is ways out. And I realize there's always going to be those exceptions. There's going to be some people we mentally just can't, cope or whatever. And we should take care of those folks. And we're not doing that either.
But this also gets to the whole forgotten Oregonian thing. We hear the stories. Well, it's the compassionate thing to do for these individuals who are suffering. What about the other people who are just trying to do the right thing and go about their business and take their kids to a park and they expect safe streets? Who's speaking out for them? They're the forgotten ones that have to pay the bill for all this stuff. And they're being told, well, out of compassion, you can't use your park anymore. Out of compassion, you can't use your parking space anymore. No, that's not compassionate.
That's
enabling, and it's taken away things that I expect in a free society that I should be able to do.
That's tolerance.
Well, and you're paying for those things.
Yeah.
You're paying for all those things.
Yeah. And to me, we have a situation. I live in Winston with a individual, kind of the same thing, handicapped.
Mm-hmm.
And they had to move him from the corner over to Abby's parking lot. Well, I happen to know the good folks over there, and they don't want him there either.
Right.
But yet they can't move him because he has refused help.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, so many of these things are solvable.
Yeah.
Well, I think they are, and I think that solving them does not mean pissing money in the wind, and that's where that's the liberal answer to this. I don't even know if I call it the liberal answer. Our local Democrats, especially one in particular, that's the answer to everything. The state, she flat told me, the state has plenty of money to take care of every single one of these homeless people in our town. They should be in a house, and if they were in a house, then they wouldn't be considered unhoused. They would be productive, and they could become productive members of society. I'm going, really? Well, how's that going to work? How are they going to stay in the house? Well, the state, me and you, all of us are going to pay for it. That's just no.
They also don't understand human nature.
Yeah.
I gotta say, they don't understand human nature.
Yeah.
There has to be some level of accountability.
Oh, there really does. And I mean, we've taken some good steps in that direction, but I feel like the Democrats are going to undo everything we've done just as fast as they can, because they just don't agree with us.
Well,
absolutely.
You remember? Okay, I'm going to show my age here. One of my favorite movies was made in Portland. You know, the King Kesey movie with Jack Nicholson, and where he said, "The crazies are running the asylum," and it's like One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
One Flew Over the Cuckoo's
Nest. Yeah, and it's just like, yeah, I think we're flying over the cuckoo's nest, right?
Yeah, but see, you're being discriminatory because you're calling them cuckoos. See, so you're a bad guy.
Well, okay.
I'm sure, Ed, you probably get called prejudice and all kinds of things too, right? I mean, it's like it's ironic when I get called that. I just have to laugh.
I criticize the amount of money that we were spending on the Rose Quarter project in my latest email, and I was called a Christo-fascist capitalist bubble speaker.
Did you look up what that even means? Because I don't even know what that means.
I decided, I said, wow, what's that?
I get called a white privileged racist all the time. It's like, I'm not even white, for crying out loud.
It's a state of mind, Virgil.
Is that what it is? I need to learn how to hate white people, I guess. I don't know. I just don't pay any attention to that crap. My whole life is I think people should be rewarded on their merits, not the color of their skin or the choices they make, sexual choices or whatever that is. And
amen to that.
And that's just how it needs to be. But
yeah.
Well, Ed, we're getting kind of close here. Is there anything you'd want to kind of chat about before we finish up for today? There's a lot out there, I know.
We covered a lot of territory. I just couple things. One, since the Senate's buying us some time, apparently, write your senators. Don't give up. Let that 94% opposed turn that thing into jack that thing up. Let's see if we can get it over 99% opposed. Yeah. Keep the pressure on, and also know that even if this goes through, voters will have a chance to have a say with a repeal effort.
Yep.
Also, go to OregonFreedom.com if you want to support the repeal effort. If you want to help get out the vote. You know what? There's hundreds of thousands of conservative Oregonians that are not voting.
Yeah.
If you want to support that, you support conservative principles. Go to OregonFreedom.com, sign our declaration, and
join the fight.
Support it and join the fight. You bet.
Yeah. I have there's a comment on here. Virgil, you aren't white. Well, Eric,
hey, whoever that was, I didn't know it either. I thought he got a plan myself.
I'm somewhere in the middle. I've been called Mexican, Hawaiian, Samoan. I've been called Polack.
I don't really care.
I don't either. I've been called Indian. You know what?
I just wish you would grow your afro back.
Yeah, I know, right? That afro from 1985. And the next comment was color of skin versus content of character. Amen. I just absolutely, I don't think you'll find, the only person you might find that's more conservative than I am is my biological dad, who lives in Atlanta. And I tell you what, he is absolutely conservative. And I wasn't raised by him. I was adopted. So evidently it's in the blood.
Is it genetic?
I think so. But anyway, I want to just echo what Ed said. I think it's important. Now's the time. This is the time to strike because we have some time before this bill passes. We can kill this bill still. There is a pathway to kill it. There's obviously a secondary pathway to repeal it. But maybe now's the time for that big rally in Salem.
Yep. Well, and I'm watching all of our friends that have been listening tonight. We got Troy and Tracy and a bunch of them. Now is the time for you.
Yeah.
We're engaged.
Yeah.
All of you need to engage.
Yeah.
And if all of you engage 5 people who engage 5 people, it's kicking butt and taking numbers.
Yeah.
People need to know there are folks that show up again and again and again to testify. Just regular citizens. God bless them for doing it. It's painful. Some of them drive across the Cascades to come and do it. There was some people that I know that they testified on LC2, and then when it became House Bill 3991, they drove over again and testified again.
Yeah.
That I hate to say it, but it's going to take that kind of commitment from regular Oregonians to turn this ship around.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I know we can do it. I wouldn't be doing this crazy job if I didn't think we could turn it around. You wouldn't do it either, Virgil.
No.
No, we're in it because we believe in the state. We believe that we're on the right side of these issues, and the majority of Oregonians are with us.
Yeah.
So we can do it.
No, I totally agree with you. I think that I think people need to get engaged, and I'll just tell you right now. Gosh, I don't know. It was probably 10 years ago when Fred Dayton and Clay Jordan came to my house, a couple old dudes, and knocked on the door, and they said, "Hey, we know a little bit about you, and we'd like to see if you would be a PCP." And I'm like, "What the hell is a PCP?" Right?
Yeah.
So they think you're. Yeah, I know, right? So they told me, well, what a PCP was. I go, I think I could swing that. I think that's all right. So I kind of got started with our local party, and then I just kind of started looking more and more into politics. And the fact is, I don't like it when people tell me what to do. I want to be able to have some
I figured that out about you, Virgil. I didn't know that.
Oh, I knew So and I'll be honest with you. There's nothing more important to me in this job. We have our levels of our bars we have to cross. Is it right? Is it right in God's eyes? Is it right in your heart? All that kind of stuff. But the fact of the matter is, and I know you believe this too, that we represent the people that put us there, and we are there to be their voice in that nut house.
Right.
And that's why we're there. You're not going to find any of this crap where we're going to be compromising on. No, this is the way the people feel that we represent. This is what we're going to do. And come hell or high water, that's what I'll do. And if it comes to the point where I can't do that, then I'll go do something else. But right now, that is my mission and my number one mission. So
yeah. Hey, on the PCP thing, you reminded me something, Virgil. If there's listeners that don't know about PCPs. So I just became a PCP this last year. My wife is too.
Welcome to the party.
Yeah, and I talked to a few other people into it as well. But as a precinct committee person, our state is divided up into precincts, and you, as a Republican precinct committee person, you're assigned a precinct, and that precinct has a few hundred people.
Yeah.
Imagine if we had every precinct committee position filled. And then imagine if every one of those PCPs made a point of reaching out to the voters in their district. And I'm talking about a few hundred, not thousands.
Yep.
A few hundred. In the last general election, I got the printout. I knew who'd voted, who hadn't voted in my precinct. I called every Republican that hadn't voted yet in my precinct. And I encouraged them to vote. That I really believe that is a key to winning back our state. It has to start at this local level. Get control of your own precinct. We can take our state back one precinct at a time.
Yep.
Yeah.
With committed people.
Yeah.
Amen to that. And we need to work as a team.
Yep.
And that's
Yep.
the most important.
Yep,
That's
we
the
do.
most important thing. You know, we don't always have to agree on everything, but Reagan's 11th commandment, you know, let's not
Yeah.
talk about bad about each other. Let's get the work done. Well, with that, Trent, I think we'll wrap up for the day. I just want to real quick touch base again. Twin Peaks Off Road, my company, is a sponsor for this podcast. Diamond Lake Mini Storage, Rick Poland's company, another sponsor for this podcast, and of course, Little Mill Media, who puts this on for us. And again, if you could see what we see staring back at us, all this equipment behind us and everything, they're amazing. And if you don't like what we had to say in our podcast, by all means, come down and see Justin. He'll put together a podcast for you, and you can get your message up there. You might not, we probably don't want to hear your message if you don't like what ours is, so that's okay. You can, you know, it's a free world, First Amendment rights and all that stuff. So I think, let's see what else there. People of our road. I think we're pretty well wrapped up. And Ed, I just want to say thank you so much for coming on. I hope we get to have you back. And man, we love your opinions, and thank you.
You bet. And I'd love to do it in person.
Yeah, absolutely. Come down.
Yeah, I'd love to do it in person. Be great.
Yeah, we might do that one night. Maybe have you speak to the local central committee. Actually, you're pretty well known. Myself, you, and Representative Yunker are kind of like the three wise men of the caucus. I swear, it's like when you hear our names come up, it's like, oh yeah, we know who those guys are. It's like,
No, that'd be awesome.
so
Take you.
all right. Yeah. All right. Well, take care, Ed, and have a good week. And I'm glad we're all back from the Marble Nut House. And again, thank you. And Trent, thank you for joining us as well. And till next time,
Till next time.
see you on the verge. All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.